Hey everyone, Chad here. I'm going to show you how to use Tmuxinator in conjunction with your ClojureScript project to make things to make it really easy just to get in and start developing right away and not having to open up a bunch of panes. I'm going to be using this with Vim. You could use this with Emacs as well in your browser, but this is something that I like to use. I'm not going to do a complete walkthrough of how to set up everything in Tmuxinator. Feel free to ask me questions in the comments, but here's the page to read more. It's GitHub Tmuxinator. It's a great project. So I'm just going to dive right in. I've already installed it with gem install and everything. So you can say mux new to create a new one. I'm going to say mux open. This is to show you my existing setup. So I'm going through this book called Living Clojure by Karen Meyer, and a lot of the stuff is Alice in Wonderland themed. So there's this ClojureScript project that's called Cheshire Cat. So in this file here, in this Tmuxinator YAML file, you're giving the on line 3, you can see you give the project a name, then you give it the path to where your source code is, and you can read about all the cool fancy things you can do with Tmuxinator, but the key things that I like to use, and there's a pre-command. So basically what you're really doing is you're setting this up so you can run mux Cheshire Cat and your environment just bootstraps and you have everything that you need. You don't have to type a bunch of commands. So you can say, hey, beforehand, before you do any of that magic, do a git pull on the repository because I want to make sure I'm up to date first. So that's one thing you can do. And then you can set up windows. So what you're going to see when I kick this off in a second is I'm going to have two windows. One is for my editor that's just going to launch Vim straight away. And then there's going to be another window with 3 panes that are going to run some things that I need for the project as I'm following along with the book's instructions, running my web server, which is line ring server, auto building the ClojureScript into a main.js file into JavaScript, which is the line CLJS build auto, and then line trampoline CLJS build REPL listen, which basically gives me the browser jacking in, basically a REPL connection to between I guess the REPL and the browser, so you can do things live there too. So real quick demo on this. The other thing that that won't work automatically for you that I'm using is on the Mac. There's this tool called Live Reload, which I basically just pointed at the source code folder, and anytime it detects a change, it'll reload the page if I've connected. So you'll see that in action too. So it makes for a nice little workflow. So here we go. We go mux Cheshire Cat. So you see I've got Vim. I can look at my project file right away. I can access stuff right away. I can hop into core.cljs. If I hop to the other window, which is labeled REPL, you'll see those 3 things kicking off in evenly split panes. And you can size them in any shape that you want, sort of, if you'd rather have horizontal versus vertical splits, etc., etc. Okay, so you can see the top one, it's waiting to connect. The bottom one was the ring one, which automatically opens a browser to the server on localhost. And the middle one should be ready or just about ready. So just so you can kind of see here in the project, there's a path Cheshire Cat that just returns some JSON, and then there is a HTML path that is consuming the JavaScript, right? And you can see now that I've loaded that, you can see that the top pane here. It's actually the browser has connected, so now I'm in a REPL there. Okay, so then if I hop over here, just so you can see, it'll actually compile and do things. If I change this 500% to 50% and save it, it's compiling. And it's compiled to main.js. Oh, I did forget to turn on live reload, but in theory it would have automatically happened. So let's do that again. Let's change it back to 500. And then if live reload is working right, yeah, it'll automatically. So yeah, so it's kind of cool. So it's a quick way to, to recap. It's a really quick way to just run a command. You want to work on a project, you can just define, what windows would I open, what would I have running, and then when you go back to work on it, it's just as simple as typing mux name of project, and all of this stuff just opens for you, and you don't have to remember all the commands and go type them in and get this set up every time. It's quite handy. So thank you for listening.